War for the solution of international controversies, undertaken as an instrument of national policy, certainly includes a war of aggression.
He was the general who signed the document that ended World War II in Europe, a strategist at the heart of Germany's military machine, praised for his tactical brilliance. But when the Third Reich collapsed, everything fell apart. Did he find redemption, or did his loyalty seal his fate? This is the tragic end of Alfred Jodl, the general whose legacy became a symbol of war, guilt, and betrayal. On October 1st, 1946, Alfred Jodl stood in the defendant's box at the Nuremberg Trials, listening to the verdict, guilty of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and crimes against peace. His defense, like many others on trial, was that he had only been following orders, but the judges didn't accept this excuse. They made it clear that obeying criminal commands was no justification for the horrors committed. Jodl was sentenced to death by hanging. In that moment, his life, once defined by discipline and dedication to duty, became a lesson in how blind loyalty can lead to downfall and disgrace. To understand how Jodl rose through the ranks and became a key figure in Nazi Germany, we need to look back at where his story began. Alfred Joseph Ferdinand Jodl was born on May 10, 1890, in Würzburg, Bavaria, into a family with deep military roots. His father, Johannes Jodl, was a respected officer in the Bavarian army, and the family valued loyalty, discipline, and national duty. But Alfred's early life wasn't without challenges. His parents weren't married when he was born because Johannes's family disapproved of his mother, Therese Baumgartler, who came from a humble farming background. For nearly a decade, this disapproval created tension within the family. It wasn't until 1899, when Johannes retired from the military, that the couple finally married and Alfred officially took the Jodl family name. This event gave Alfred a sense of legitimacy and placed him firmly within the family's proud military tradition. Jodl grew up in a strict, disciplined household where duty and obedience were everything. He was taught that serving his country and following orders mattered more than personal ambition. These values became central to his life, but they also prevented him from questioning right and wrong. His younger brother, Ferdinand, followed a similar path, becoming a general during World War II. Their uncle, Friedrich Jodl, was a philosopher who often discussed ideas of responsibility and ethics, but it was their father's strict military background that had the biggest impact on Alfred's upbringing. For Jodl, a military career wasn't encouraged, it was expected. He enrolled in a military cadet school in Munich, where the training was tough. Days were filled with physical drills, lessons in strategy, and strict discipline. Many cadets struggled with the pressure, but Jodl stood out for his determination. He wasn't the best student academically, but he worked harder than most. His instructors admired his calmness under pressure and his ability to push through challenges when others gave up, qualities that would help him rise through the military ranks later in life. In 1910, at 20 years old, Jodl became a lieutenant in the Bavarian Army's 4th Field Artillery Regiment. It was a major milestone, but his military journey had just begun. His early duties focused on coordinating artillery fire, leading small groups of soldiers, and participating in training drills. While these tasks seemed ordinary, they were essential in developing the tactical skills and leadership he would rely on later. Everything changed in 1914 when World War I began. For Jodl and other young officers, it was their first chance to experience real combat, but the reality of war was harsher than they expected. On the Western Front, soldiers faced muddy trenches, barbed wire, constant shelling, and deadly gas attacks. Freezing weather, disease, and the threat of death were part of daily life. In this brutal environment, Jodl's ability to stay focused, adapt quickly, and make decisions under pressure became crucial for survival. As a battery commander in the Bavarian Army's artillery unit, Jodl had a crucial job. He was responsible for directing artillery strikes to support advancing infantry and disrupt enemy positions. It wasn't just about firing cannons. Every shot had to be precisely timed and carefully aimed. A small mistake could lead to friendly fire or wasted attack that failed to slow the enemy. The pressure was immense, but Jodl's ability to think clearly and adjust quickly under fire earned him respect among his fellow officers. But war is unforgiving. In 1914, during the Battle of Saarburg, Jodl was hit by enemy fire and suffered a serious thigh wound. The injury forced him to leave the front lines for several months. Still, even while recovering, Jodl remained focused on the war. He was determined not to let his injury slow him down or affect his career. By 1915, he had rejoined his unit, ready to prove himself again. His resilience and commitment didn't go unnoticed. For his bravery and leadership, Jodl was awarded the Iron Cross Second Class, a prestigious honor given to soldiers who went above and beyond in the line of duty. Jodl's success on the Western Front was only the beginning. In 1916, he was transferred to the Eastern Front, where the style of warfare was very different. Unlike the static trench battles of the West, the Eastern Front was marked by constant movement and wide-ranging battles over forests, swamps, and open fields. As a battery commander with the 72nd Hungarian Field Artillery Regiment, Jodl had to think fast and adapt to changing situations, often without much time to plan. His job was to direct artillery strikes that would help weaken enemy defenses and clear the way for infantry advances. The conditions were tough. Soldiers faced long marches, limited food, and freezing weather. But Jodl's ability to stay focused and make strategic decisions under pressure set him apart. His well-coordinated artillery attacks played a key role in several successful offensives, earning him recognition as a skilled tactical leader. By 1917, his success had earned him a promotion, and he was reassigned to the Western Front in a higher position as a general staff officer. This new role gave him responsibility for planning and managing large military operations, further establishing him as an important figure within the army. In his new role, Jodl worked with senior commanders to plan and manage major military operations. His tasks included studying enemy movements, organizing artillery support, and making sure soldiers had the supplies they needed. This position gave him important experience in handling large battles and understanding military strategy on a larger scale, skills he would rely on heavily during World War II. By the time World War I ended in 1918, Jodl had risen to the rank of captain, an impressive achievement given his background. He had also earned the Iron Cross First Class for his leadership and bravery in battle. But even with his personal success, the defeat of Germany overshadowed any sense of pride. Like many others in the military, Jodl was left feeling bitter and frustrated by the outcome. After the war, Germany was hit with the harsh terms of the Treaty of Versailles in 1919. The treaty blamed Germany for the conflict and demanded heavy reparations, reduced its territory, and slashed its military to just 100,000 men. Many experienced officers were forced out, but Jodl managed to stay. Still, he shared the anger of many veterans who felt betrayed by the treaty and the politicians who had agreed to it. For Jodl, the military restrictions weren't just a professional setback, they were a personal blow to his pride and sense of duty. Jodl was one of the few officers who kept their positions in the reduced Reichswehr, the new German army. Although this was a difficult period due to political instability and economic struggles under the Weimar Republic, it gave him time to sharpen his military skills and further his education. Between 1919 and the mid-1920s, Jodl worked as a staff officer and instructor, teaching courses on artillery tactics, military history, and operational planning. His problem-solving skills and clear thinking earned him the respect of his superiors. In 1928, Jodl was transferred to the Ministry of the Reichswehr in Berlin, where he became involved in Germany's secret rearmament efforts. The Treaty of Versailles had banned Germany from building certain weapons and developing its military, but Jodl and his team found ways around these restrictions. They used civilian organizations as a cover. Pilots were trained in glider clubs, soldiers were prepared through sporting associations, and weapons development continued in secret. During this time, Jodl worked closely with Wilhelm Keitel, who would later become his superior at the OKW, German Armed Forces High Command. Keitel saw Jodl's talent and promoted him to key roles within the general staff. Between 1928 and 1932, Jodl taught war tactics at a military academy, where he gained a reputation for being a methodical and forward-thinking. He stressed the importance of blending traditional military tactics with modern technology, an approach that would heavily influence his strategies during World War II. In 1933, when Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party took power, Jodl's career took a major turn. Hitler's decision to defy the Treaty of Versailles allowed Germany to rebuild its military quickly, and Jodl was ready to be part of this effort. He played a key role in organizing large military exercises and creating strategies for future wars. By 1935, he had earned a senior position in the General Staff, where he focused on training soldiers and updating the army's outdated infrastructure. In 1938, Jodl's career hit a new high when he was appointed Chief of the Operations Staff at the OKW. This position put him directly under Wilhelm Keitel and made him one of Hitler's top military advisors. From then on, Jodl was directly involved in planning Germany's major military campaigns. His strict upbringing and years of military discipline had prepared him for this role, but as the war went on, dedication to duty overshadowed any sense of right and wrong. Jodl's story shows how loyalty, discipline, and obedience can guide someone's life. But when these values aren't balanced with moral judgment, they can lead to terrible outcomes. His rise through military ranks was marked by hard work and success, but it also led him down a path that tied him to some of history's darkest moments, ultimately ending in his conviction at Nuremberg. That's all for the tragic fate of Alfred Jodl, the general who signed Germany's surrender and paid the ultimate price. If you're interested in more fascinating history content, make sure to click on the next video.